This video is a Twizy maintenance recommendation video. It's time to change that gearbox oil. Okay, so following on from these other videos, I've been speaking about the Twizy. I wanted to talk to you, those of you that are interested, about how important it is to change the oil in your gearbox on your Twizy. So when you speak to Renault, they typically say that the oil is good for life, which kind of seems strange to me, because in a conventional engine you need to change the oil, but I guess because it's an electric vehicle, and unfortunately when you speak to a lot of the dealerships, they're not really familiar with the electric vehicles. The gearbox oil is actually something that you should be looking at. Now the reason for this is twofold. First of all, the actual manufacturer of the gearbox recommend that you change the gearbox oil every year, and also Renault don't use the right recommended oil in the gearbox from the factory. So there's a couple of things there, and really for the sake of, you know, was it £10 for the oil, it's worth doing. So this video I just want to briefly talk about why you should do it on the Twizy and how easy it is. There's other videos explaining the exact details of how, so I'm not going to go into all of that. This is really just super brief to spread awareness. So to change the oil, it's recommended that you use 80W90 gearbox oil. Make sure it's an EP graded one, because you want to have, I can't remember the name of it now, certain elements and kind of, it aids lubrication, basically it hinders more kind of break down the material. So definitely make sure it's an EP grade oil that you go for. I've just gone for this Comex oil just because it happened to be on offer, but any recognised one that meets the required standards. So it's a GL5 gearbox oil. And then in order to do this, if you've not changed oil on the gearbox before, different to engine oil, you need to pump that oil back in. So I recommend this Draper MultiPurpose 1 litre pump. There'll be links to both of these in the description. The reason I like this one is for the Twizy, it takes a litre of oil. This pump takes a litre of oil as well, so no messing around having to take it in and out. And it's got a really good accurate pump mechanism, and also this little metal bar on the bottom which fits right in to the gearbox input hole, so makes it super easy. So for me, from start to finish, it took me around 33 minutes to do the gearbox oil change. So I'll briefly talk to you about how I did that, and then we'll just kind of finish up with some final thoughts. So the first thing you want to do is just take the Twizy for a quick spin around the block, just to get the gearbox oil warmed up. Then when you come back, as you're looking at it from the rear, all you need to do is jack up the left hand side of the vehicle. You want to jack up around 15 to 20 centimeters off the floor, so you've got good easy access under there. There are clearly identifiable jack point mounts, to make sure you jack it in the right place. From there are 4 bolts on the rear under tray. This was particularly filthy on mine, so I just gave it a quick clean whilst I was at it. Then you can get and see easy access to the gearbox itself. On the lower half of the gearbox is a 6mm Allen key bolt. This is also has a magnetic element on the end, so any swarth that's been generated inside the gearbox will get caught on there. So you want to check that that's not too significant, because that may indicate an issue, especially if you haven't changed the gearbox oil before. So my vehicle is nearly 4 years old and I've done 3,500 miles. There was minimal swarf on there, so that's good and of no concern. Once you've undone that, you want to have, well, before you undo that even, you want to have a container ready. So I just used half of an old 4 litre milk bottle carton. When you undo that bolt, the oil is going to come out almost horizontally. So be ready to catch that, and then as you do that, gradually lower the bottle down and let that drain. Depending on how long ago it was that you had the oil in there, you're going to have somewhere between 0.8 to 1 litre of oil. Once that's fully drained, so just leave it about 5 minutes and it should complete its drain. What you will notice, even I noticed that this, it was just a low amount of mileage, that oil is absolutely filthy. Why you would not want to be changing this on a regular basis is beyond me. Once you see that, and obviously the variance in colour, it's amazing. So what will be interesting is to see after a year how much that colour has changed based on how many miles gets done. Okay, so once that's done, put the bolt back in. One thing you need to make sure, actually, there's a washer on the end of these bolts, so that may have fallen out into oil. You need to make sure you pick that up, put the bolt back in, and then directly above, just on the other side, on the higher end of the gearbox, is the other hex bolt that you want to undo. And then you want to obviously have poured 1 litres worth of oil into here. So regardless of how much came out, if it's 0.8 or 1, doesn't matter, it can take 1 litre. If you overfilled it by accident, it would seep out anyway, but it shouldn't be a problem. 1 litre was fine for me, no oil leakage after. Pop that in with this little kind of metal end, poke that in, that fits in about 1 centimetre, so some good clearance in there, and then you need to pump it. Just keep on pumping basically until it's done. Took me probably about 100 pumps, I guess. And again, like I say, it's quite a fluid motion, so it's not that painful, and they actually make a vigorous with it. I think I kind of stopped about 80 pumps, had a little rest, and then did 20 more and it was finished. Take that out, put the bolt back in, make sure that's obviously both nicely secured. Put those 4 bolts back on the under tray. Lower the jack back down and take the vehicle for a little spin. What I noticed was 2 things. It's slightly quieter, so the gearbox noise, the whine you get you know, as it's going through the gears, is slightly quieter, but definitely a lot smoother. It seemed like the progression and the move through the gears was a lot smoother. It seemed more enjoyable to drive. If you are going to look at tuning your Twizy, you definitely want to make sure that you're changing the oil. One, to make sure it's of the right grade recommended by the gearbox manufacturer, so it can definitely handle the tolerances. And then obviously just back to general practice, if you're running things slightly over the manufacturer's intended threshold, you want to increase your maintenance cycles a little bit. In terms of the tuning, the actual Twizy itself actually runs at a slightly higher RPM than the gearbox manufacturer recommends anyway, so another reason why you should be changing the oil more regularly. I don't know why they selected that gearbox, but it can take amazing amounts of torque. So with the remaps that I've been looking at, it's really a torque increase more so than the RPM increase, so no real issue there. But something to keep in mind. So I hope this video is helpful. If you've changed your gearbox oil in your Twizy, I'd be interested in knowing if you thought it worked well. Also, how long did it take you? Like I said, it took me about 33 minutes. I've done lots of this kind of things before, but I found that it was really quite an easy car to work on. I've read about some people drilling out the rivets in the rear seat to be able to get access to it. I'm not quite sure why you would do that. Use the right tools. Give yourself some time, some good lighting, and you should get good results.
In this video, a thumbs up would be really appreciated. If you're interested in other geek type videos, please consider subscribing to Spectrum Geeks. Why not also follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And before you leave, why don't you check out one of these other videos that may be of interest. Thanks again for watching.